afternoon. This is Donna Crawley, and today we're going to talk about the 3 default accounts that QuickBooks has for you called the uncategorized accounts, okay? And when you start a new file, you look at them and go, what the heck are these accounts for? They actually serve a purpose, believe it or not. Even though some might find them annoying, they actually serve a purpose. So here they are. There's 3 of them: uncategorized assets, uncategorized income, and uncategorized expense. All right. This one here typically should be 0, as well as the other 2. So by the time you do your month-end review, you're going to look at all your balances for those 3 accounts and make sure that they have been appropriately moved to an account that is correct for that transaction. Okay. So today we're going to review these 3 accounts and what to do to correct them. My first choice, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the register, and I see that, right? And I also saw earlier when I run my balance sheet, I'm running my balance sheet for this month, right? It's standard procedure when you get it ready to close the month and you look at everything and say, where are my balances? What does it look like? So I have this silly balance in here. It's $2,500. I go straight to the entry by clicking on it. And it looks like it's a transfer, right? So why is it a transfer? Because when QuickBooks sees something and it finds an account that looks like another asset, it could be another current asset, or maybe potentially there's a new bank account somewhere, but it didn't find it anywhere when it tried to match to something in the bank feeds. This is a test account, so I didn't have an actual bank feeds that normally would show up in the top here, but this is where it would show, where my arrows are, okay? But in reality, a lot of people see these records and they automatically click match, we're done, and don't realize what these transactions mean and why you need to review them. So here in the bank memo, it said transfer to savings 0302. At the end of the month, your job is to make sure this is 0, right? I would question this. What is savings account 0302? Is this a new business account that we just opened? If that's the case, you'll need to go ahead and create that account right here. And you could type in 0302 and just make that account while you're here. And type in savings. And then you can just hit tab and it'll say add that savings account, right? And you know it's a bank account, and boom, we're done. In this instance, we're still not sure. So then we ask the owner again. And again, I don't know why it says owner's draw. Forgive me. That's our checking account, right? So we ask the owner again. What is this transaction? What is 0302? So we finally got to have that conversation. And the answer was, well, I transferred some money to my personal account. Okay. I forgot to tell you this, but I transferred some money because I just needed some cash. We're kind of low on this. So here what we need to do, I guess we don't have an owner's equity account in here, so we need to make one. Oh yeah, we do. Great. Wonderful. So we don't need to create this account. We put owner's equity in here. And now we hit save and close. And we're going to go ahead and look at our, oh, look, our transaction report's empty right now. Beautiful. Now let's look at our balance sheet. Look at that. The undeposited funds is still there, of course, but what happened to our uncategorized assets? It went away. Why? Because if we go to the chart of accounts and we look at the uncategorized assets, what we just did removed that balance. In fact, we look in the register, it is now empty because we took away the uncategorized asset entry from that transaction that created the balance and replaced it with the appropriate transfer account, which is owner's equity in this case. And with another type of entity, it could be shareholders distribution or something similar like that. Okay, so we got this all taken care of. Yay. Now, the next issue that we have up to take care of would be our uncategorized income and uncategorized expenses. As we looked earlier, we noticed that there were some that were taken in here. We have uncategorized expenses right down here, $851. Well, let's look at these. Let's look at these items, okay? It looks like we took two items and we just added them from the bank feeds. They looked fine to us, but we didn't realize, well, those need to be categorized. So that's our job. We know that those are expenses because the intelligence of the bank feeds knows that they are something that's money out. So it's smart enough to know that, right? And so we're going to go, okay, Tim Phillip Masonry. Oh yeah, I know who this guy is. He's a subcontractor. Let's see, we've got some kind of labor job in here. Oh, okay, yeah. He does our maintenance and repairs. So we're going to add that in here. Or let's see, he's got cost of labor, installation. Yeah, he's one of our guy that we hire. So I'm going to hit save and close. That looks good. Right, and that's part of it. I'm going to look at the other entry. Chin's gas and oil. Well, that looks like fuel expense, doesn't it? I don't know how we forgot that. And we don't even have a payee here. Do we need to add one? Yep, let's put a payee because we always want to have a payee. And we know that Chin's gas and oil is always going to be fuel, right? So we put that in here. Remember, even when you're doing this, it's always good to use your best practices. And if you do have a payee, use the payee. And if it's a generic fuel person and you don't go there that often, and it's maybe on the road or something, then make I call it a generic vendor for fuel purchases and just call it fuel. All right. So either way, now we've got this taken care of. It's Chin's gas and oil. We hit save and close. All right, back to our report. It's zero. Wonderful. Back to our profit and loss. Look at that. We've got nothing left in uncategorized expenses. Uncategorized income. All right, uncategorized income. What is that? Now, recognize that income should always come from a source such as customers or any kind of regular recurring income that we can recognize. All right, so let's look at this one. What is this? We know it's money in, so that's why the bank feed said it's deposit, it's money in. But it said A1 rental backhoe deposit. I don't know these people. They're not a customer. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't match to any of the receipts we have. So QuickBooks said, okay, I'm just going to stick this in uncategorized income. QuickBooks is that smart. So ideally, they stuck it in the right place on the profit and loss at least, right? So I know what this is. I made a deposit earlier to one of my vendors. So since I know this is a regular vendor and I made a deposit and it's a refund for my deposit, I'm not going to use income. I'm going to use the expense account that I normally use for these guys. And that way I get credited properly for my equipment rental. because they're giving me my deposit back. There's usually a $200 equipment deposit fee. I got it back, and there you go. So that's the purpose behind this. QuickBooks knows you have a money in coming there, but it didn't identify it with anything else. It didn't match to any of their receipts. It doesn't look like a customer that you have because it looks at all these names. So it sticks it in uncategorized income. So at least it's on the right side of the profit and loss, right? So here we go. We hit save and close. And we now can look at our profit and loss. Our report's empty. Back to report summary. And looks like on income, we only have the regular sources of income. On expenses, we only have our regular sources of expenses. And that looks great. So back to what I was saying earlier. You can rename those accounts to something like assets to review, or income to review, or expenses to review, or whatever sounds like it would make sense to your business. But either way, understand that the purpose of these accounts are very valuable to you and your business. It's to verify what the actual purpose of the expenses are. As we were saying, these accounts can be renamed to whatever makes sense to you, but understand that they actually do have both a programming and an accounting purpose. The idea is to get them cleaned up by the end of the month, or if you don't get them cleaned up at the end of the month and you do see an expense account, then you can stick that into, Ask My Accountant. However, I do not typically recommend sticking any uncategorized expense or uncategorized asset transactions in Ask My Accountant, because you'll get your values in the wrong place of a balance sheet or a profit and loss report. So that is a critical thing, because if you're even trying to have reports to review, you want to keep those balances in those accounts until you're sure where they need to go and when you get them corrected. So do use those uncategorized accounts for your benefit. Yes, even accountants can use them for review. They're not these evil QuickBooks things that are there just to annoy you. And with that note, this is Donna Crawley with DMC Business Services, and thank you for hanging out with me today.